Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Learn English with Real Conversations, the podcast where we help you speak English naturally and confidently. I'm Hannah.
And I'm James. Hannah, I was talking to one of my students yesterday, and she said something interesting. She understands many, but gets confused about when to use much. And then she asked about more.
Oh, yes, this is such a common question. Much and more seem similar because they both talk about quantity, but they're used in very different ways.
Exactly. That's why we decided to dedicate an entire episode to much and more today. By the end of this lesson, you're going to understand exactly when to use each one.
You'll learn the grammar rules, natural expressions native speakers use, and you'll practice with real-life examples. Plus, we're covering all the common mistakes.
We've got so much to cover today. See what I did there? I just used much naturally.
So here's our question for you. Have you ever been confused about when to use much versus more? Or maybe you're not sure if you should say much better or more better. Drop a comment and let us know.
And if this is your first time here, welcome. Subscribe to Hannah Daily English and hit that like button. We're here every week with practical English lessons. Let's dive into much and more in English.
Okay, let's start with much. Much is a quantifier, which means it tells us about quantity or amount. But here's the key thing you need to know right from the start. Much is used with uncountable nouns.
Uncountable nouns are things you cannot count individually, like water, time, money, information, advice. You can't say one water, two waters in the way you'd say one apple, two apples.
So the basic formula is really simple. You use much plus an uncountable noun. Much water, much time, much money. That's the core pattern.
But here's something really important. In positive statements, native speakers don't actually use much very often. It sounds quite formal or even old-fashioned.
Right, so you wouldn't really say, I have much money in casual conversation. Instead, you'd say, I have a lot of money or I have plenty of money. Much more natural.
However, we use much all the time in negative sentences and in questions. I don't have much time right now. Do you have much experience with this?
Perfect examples. There isn't much coffee left. We don't get much rain here. Did you spend much money on vacation?
I don't have much patience today. She doesn't have much interest in sports. Do you need much help with this?
See how all of those are either negative or questions? That's when much really shines. It's your go-to word for talking about uncountable quantities in those contexts.
Now, let me ask you, Hannah, how much coffee do you drink in a day?
Oh, way too much. I probably drink about 4 or 5 cups. How much sleep did you get last night, James?
Not much, actually, maybe 5 hours. Notice how natural much sounds in these questions.
Now, listeners, think about your own life. How much English do you practice every day? How much free time do you have on weekends? Try making your own question using much and write it in the comments.
Let's talk about common expressions with much. First one is too much. This means an excessive amount.
I ate too much at dinner. She works too much. There's too much noise here.
Another super common one is so much. This is for emphasis.
Thank you so much. I have so much work this week. We had so much fun at the party.
And there's how much for questions about price or quantity. How much does this cost? How much time do we have?
One more is not much. This means a small amount or almost none.
There's not much food in the fridge. I don't know much about that topic. He doesn't have much confidence yet.
Notice that all of these use much with uncountable nouns. Time, work, fun, food, confidence, all uncountable.
Quick practice moment. Create a sentence right now using much in a negative form. Maybe you don't have much free time or you don't have much experience with something. Say it out loud.
Great. Now let's move on to more.
All right, now let's talk about more. More is completely different from much in terms of how we use it. More is the comparative form of both much and many, and it's used when you're comparing quantities.
The key word here is comparison. Whenever you're saying that one thing has a greater amount or number than another thing, you use more. And here's the great news. More works with both countable and uncountable nouns.
That's right. You can say more time, which is uncountable, or more books, which is countable. More is flexible. It works with everything.
The basic formula is more plus noun, and often you'll add than to complete the comparison. I need more time than I thought. She has more books than me. We need more information than what we currently have.
Let me give you a bunch of examples so you can really hear how natural this is. I drink more coffee than tea. That's comparing two things I drink.
This project requires more work than the last one, comparing the amount of work between two projects.
There are more people here today than yesterday, comparing the number of people on different days.
I have more energy in the morning than in the evening, comparing my energy levels at different times.
He needs more practice than his classmates, comparing the amount of practice needed.
We get more rain in winter than in summer, comparing rainfall in different seasons.
See how every single example is comparing two things? That's the essence of more. It's all about comparison.
Now let's do a fun dialogue to show how more sounds in natural conversation. Ready, James?
Let's go.
Hey, James, did you see the new cafe that opened downtown?
Yeah, I did. I actually went there yesterday. They have way more options than the old place. It's really impressive.
Really? What kind of options?
Well, they have more types of coffee, more food choices, and they even have more seating areas. Plus, they're open more hours than most cafes around here. I think they close at 10 instead of 6.
That sounds amazing. But is it more expensive than the other places?
Actually, no. The prices are about the same, maybe even a bit less. You should definitely check it out. I think you'd love it.
I will. I need to find more good places to study anyway. My usual spot has been too crowded lately.
Perfect. Let me know what you think when you go. Did you catch all those uses of more? We compared options, types, choices, seating, hours, and prices, all with more. That's how naturally it flows in everyday conversation.
Perfect. Now here's something really important. More can also be used without a noun when the noun is understood from context. For example, if someone offers you pizza and you say, I want more, everyone understands you mean, I want more pizza.
Can I have more, please? I need more. Do you want more? In all these cases, the noun is implied but not stated.
We also use more in some really common expressions. Let's go through a few. First, more and more, which means an increasing amount over time.
I'm getting more and more interested in learning Spanish. More and more people are working from home these days. It's becoming more and more difficult to find affordable housing.
Another great one is more or less, which means approximately or roughly.
The meeting will take an hour, more or less. I've been studying English for 2 years, more or less. There were 50 people at the party, more or less.
And there's no more, which means something has ended or run out.
There's no more milk in the fridge. I have no more patience for this. We have no more time to waste.
Here's your challenge, listeners. Write a sentence in the comments using more to compare two things from your own life. Maybe you study more in the evening than in the morning, or you spend more time on social media than reading books. Show us what you can do.
Now let's move on to an advanced use that combines much and more together.
This is where things get really interesting. You can actually use much and more together in the same sentence, and it's extremely common in English.
Much is used to modify more and make the comparison stronger.
The pattern is much plus more plus adjective or noun. It means a lot more or significantly more. It adds emphasis to your comparison.
Let me give you examples. This apartment is much more expensive than the other one. Here, much makes the comparison stronger. It's not just more expensive, it's much more expensive, significantly more.
I feel much more confident now than I did last year. The much emphasizes how big the difference is in my confidence level.
This exercise is much more difficult than the previous one. Again, much shows that the difficulty gap is large.
She's much more experienced than the other candidates. The difference in experience is substantial.
This restaurant is much more popular than it used to be. The increase in popularity is significant.
Learning grammar is much more interesting when you practice with real examples. Much emphasizes the difference that real examples make.
You can also use much with other comparative adjectives, not just with more. For example, much better, much worse, much faster, much slower.
I feel much better today than yesterday. This new phone is much faster than my old phone. Traffic is much worse in the evening than in the morning.
Picture this scenario. You're at a job interview and they ask you about your English skills. You might say something like this: "My English is much more fluent now than when I started learning. I've practiced much more consistently this year, and I understand much more when I listen to native speakers. I can also express my thoughts much more clearly than before."
That's perfect. You're using much to emphasize all of your improvements. It sounds natural and shows real progress. The interviewer would be really impressed by that level of fluency in describing your development.
Here's another scenario. You're talking to a friend about a movie you both saw. You might say, "I enjoyed it much more than I expected. The plot was much more interesting than the trailer suggested, and the acting was much better than in their previous film."
Save this with me. Much more interesting. Much more difficult. Much more beautiful. Try saying these out loud right now. Get comfortable with this pattern because you'll use it constantly. One thing to note is that much with more makes your English sound really natural and fluent. It's exactly how native speakers add emphasis to their comparisons in everyday conversation.
We have 3 key tips for using much and more together naturally. Ready?
First tip, use much more when you want to emphasize that the difference between two things is big or significant. Don't use it for small differences. If something is only slightly more expensive, don't say much more expensive. Just say a little more expensive or slightly more expensive.
Second tip, this structure works in all kinds of situations, formal and informal. You can use it at work, with friends, in emails, in presentations. It's universal.
Third tip, you can make it even stronger by adding so before much. This is so much expensive. I feel so much better. It's so much fun.
This is very common in enthusiastic, emotional speech.
Imagine you're describing your progress in learning English. Try saying this out loud. I understand so much more now than when I started. I can express my ideas much more clearly, and I feel so much more confident when speaking.
Beautiful. That sounds natural and confident. Now, listeners, write a sentence in the comments using much more to describe an improvement or change in your life. Maybe your English is much more fluent than before, or your cooking is much better than it used to be. We want to hear from you. Okay, it's time for the common mistakes section. And honestly, I've heard English learners make all of these mistakes at some point, so don't feel bad if any of them sound familiar. We're here to fix them together.
These errors are super common, and once you know what they are, you'll never make them again. Let's jump right in.
Mistake number 1, using much with countable nouns in positive sentences.
Incorrect. I have much friends in the city. Correct. I have many friends in this city.
Remember, much is for uncountable nouns. Friends is countable. You can count them. 1 friend, 2 friends, 3 friends. So you need many, not much. This is probably the most common mistake we see.
If you want to use much with countable nouns, it has to be in questions or negatives. Do you have much friends? No, that's wrong too. Do you have many friends? That's correct. Or better yet, do you have a lot of friends, which works for both countable and uncountable.
Mistake number 2, saying more better or more faster instead of just the comparative form.
Incorrect. This method is more better than the old one. Correct. This method is better than the old one.
You cannot say more better. The word better already is the comparative form of good. You don't need more in front of it. Same with faster, which is already the comparative of fast. You don't say more faster.
However, you can say much better or much faster, because here much is emphasizing the comparison, not creating it. This is much better is perfect. This is more better is wrong.
Mistake number 3, using much in positive statements without to or so.
Incorrect. I have much work today. Correct. I have a lot of work today. Or I have too much work today. Or I have so much work today.
Plain much in a positive statement sounds unnatural unless you add to or so for emphasis. In casual English, we prefer a lot of for positive statements. But much is perfect in questions and negatives. Do you have much work? And I don't have much work are both great.
Mistake number 4, confusing more with most.
Incorrect. This is the more important thing to remember. Correct. This is the most important thing to remember.
More is for comparing two things. Most is for superlatives, when something is the highest or greatest among 3 or more things. If you're choosing between 2 options, use more. This option is more important than that one. If you're identifying the single most important thing out of many, use most. This is the most important thing.
I actually made this mistake in a presentation once. I said, this is the more difficult part, when I meant this is the most difficult part. My colleague corrected me afterward, and I was so embarrassed.
Hey, that's how we learn. Making mistakes is totally normal, and it's actually the best way to improve. The important thing is that you learned from it.
Mistake number 5, forgetting than after more in comparisons.
Incorrect. I need more time. Correct, when comparing, I need more time than I have.
Now wait, I need more time can actually be correct if you're just saying you need additional time in general, but if you're comparing 2 amounts, you need than. I need more time than you gave me. This costs more than I expected. She studies more than her brother.
The key is whether you're making a comparison explicit or just stating a need for additional quantity. Both are correct, but they mean slightly different things.
Don't worry if some of these felt familiar. These mistakes are totally normal, and the fact that you're learning about them now means you're going to start getting them right. You're doing great.
Practice time. We're going to give you 6 situations, and you need to choose the correct option. Say your answer out loud before we tell you the correct one. This is how you really learn. Ready?
Situation 1. You're talking about your coffee consumption. Which is correct? Option A. I don't drink much coffee. Option B. I don't drink many coffee. Think about it. What's your answer?
The answer is A. I don't drink much coffee. Coffee is uncountable. You can't say 1 coffee, 2 coffees in the sense of the liquid. So you use much. Great job if you got that right.
Situation 2. You're comparing 2 restaurants. Which is correct? Option A. This restaurant has more better food than the other one. Option B. This restaurant has much better food than the other one.
B. Much better food. Better is already the comparative form, so you can't say more better. But you can say much better because much emphasizes the comparison. Perfect.
Situation 3. You're talking about your savings. Which is correct? Option A. I have much money in my savings account. Option B. I have a lot of money in my savings account.
B. A lot of money. Remember, plain much in a positive statement sounds unnatural. We prefer a lot of in these cases. However, if you said, I have so much money or I have too much money, those would be fine because of so and too.
Situation 4. You're asking about someone's availability. Which is correct? Option A. Do you have much free time this weekend? Option B. Do you have many free time this weekend?
A. Much free time. Time is uncountable, and this is a question, so much is perfect here. Questions and negatives are where much really shines.
Situation 5. You're describing an improvement. Which is correct? Option A. My English is much more fluent than last year. Option B. My English is much more fluent than it was last year.
Actually, both are correct, but B is more complete and natural. When you're comparing, it's better to complete the comparison clearly. My English is much more fluent than it was last year, sounds more polished than just much more fluent than last year.
Situation 6. You're declining more food. Which is correct? Option A. No thanks, I had much food already. Option B. No thanks, I've had enough food already.
B, I've had enough food already. This is the natural way to say it. You wouldn't say I had much food in a positive statement like this. However, you could say I've had too much food already or I've had so much food already. Those would be fine.
How did you do? If you got them all right, you're doing amazingly well. If you missed some, that's totally okay. The important thing is that you're practicing and learning.
Now here's your big challenge. Create 2 sentences. One sentence using much in a question or negative, and one sentence using more to compare 2 things. Make them about your own life. Write both in the comments and we'll give you feedback.
Remember, making mistakes is how you learn. Every sentence you create, every time you practice, you're building your English skills. We're so proud of you for doing this work.
Wow, we covered so much today. See, I did it again, using much naturally. I'm really proud of everyone who stayed with us through this entire lesson. This is not easy material, and you did it.
Let's do a quick summary of everything we learned today, because reviewing is how you really lock this information into your memory.
Number 1, much is used with uncountable nouns, especially in questions and negative sentences. Do you have much time? I don't have much money. There isn't much information available. Much sounds unnatural in positive statements unless you add to or so for emphasis. I have too much work. She has so much talent.
Number 2. More is the comparative form, used for comparing quantities of both countable and uncountable nouns. I need more time. She has more experience. There are more people here than yesterday. More works everywhere, in positive statements, questions, and negatives. It's very flexible.
Number 3, much and more work beautifully together. Use much to emphasize your comparisons. This is much more expensive. I feel much better. She's much more confident. This makes your English sound natural and fluent, exactly like a native speaker.
Here's a simple memory trick to take away with you today. Much asks questions and says no. Think of questions like how much and negatives like not much. More makes comparisons. More this than that.
You are doing so incredibly well with your English. The fact that you watched this entire episode and practiced along with us shows real commitment. That dedication is what separates people who improve quickly from those who don't. You're doing the work, and that's what matters most.
So tell us, which use of much and more will you try first? Will you practice asking questions with much? Will you work on making comparisons with more? Or will you challenge yourself to use much more together for emphasis?
Let us know in the comments. And while you're there, write your own example sentences using what you learned today. We genuinely read every comment and reply to as many as we possibly can.
If this episode helped you understand much and more better, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps other English learners discover this content. The more people we reach, the more learners we can help.
Share this episode with a friend who's learning English. Send them the link right now. They'll thank you for it, and you'll be helping someone else on their English learning journey.
Subscribe to Hannah Daily English so you never miss a new lesson. We publish new content every single week, and every episode is designed to help you speak English more naturally and confidently.
Next time, we're covering another pair that confuses a lot of learners. We're going to talk about less versus fewer. When do you use each? What are the rules? We're going to make it crystal clear for you.
Oh, that's going to be such a good episode. I know so many people struggle with that one.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Your English is improving every single day, with every lesson you watch, with every sentence you practice. Keep going. You're doing better than you think.
Keep practicing, keep improving, keep believing in yourself. You've got this.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.